Hey, I got a story I want to share with you. Years ago, I worked in this Christian bookstore. It was called the Salt Shaker Bookstore. And I met this man named Leroy Lee. Leroy was a retired firefighter. Uh, he was a deacon in the church, very wise man. And he would come into this bookstore and he would buy books, of course. But this bookstore had an environment where, people would come and buy stuff, but they also would come in there and have Bible study. It was just that kind of environment, almost like a library. And so he would come in there often. He would buy stuff, but a lot of times he would come in and just be studying. You could tell he's, learning. He's looking through reference books, and me and him would have good conversations. And he was about in his 60s during this time, and he looked real good for his age. I didn't even realize he was in his 60s, uh, even during that time. But anyway, fast forward to about 2.5 years ago, Mr. Leroy was now 77 years old. Now, the Christian bookstore that I'm talking about, he had closed in 2013, so I didn't see him maybe once or twice since then. So I hadn't seen him for years. And so 2.5 years ago, his health started declining and he ended up in the hospital. So I went by the hospital and I visited him. I was like, "Hey, you remember me?" He was like, "Yeah." And so we had a good conversation. He had lost a lot of weight, so you could tell he had some serious stuff going on. And so I prayed with him and I told him that I'll be back to visit him. And sure enough, I did. And I remember this one particular time I came and I didn't go in this time because his wife was there. His wife was in a wheelchair. They had wheeled her up and they were sitting in the room. They had the door open. And so I saw them, but they didn't see me. But I just remember the scene where she was right there at the edge of his bed. And he's laying there. And she's in the wheelchair and they're just holding each other's hand. It wasn't saying anything, but the whole scene said a lot. All I saw was love. All I saw was a journey. All I saw was we all we got. And man, I'll never forget that. I said, okay, I can't interrupt this. So I just came back at another time. And I eventually met his wife and his daughter, a beautiful family. But I kept coming to visit with Mr. Leroy and praying with Mr. Leroy. This one particular time, the last time I saw him, right? Now, Mr. Leroy eventually passed, but the last time that I saw him, I had bought him my book actually. I bought him this book here, Whatever Devil We Made It Anyway, because this book is also known as the Hope Book. And if you don't know anything about this book, just look at the description of this video. But I remember bringing him my book, and I remember this particular day, the last time I saw him, he was in the room in the hospital, but somebody had brought all his books. He had like a bunch of, well, not a bunch of them, but there was a few books he had over there that he was currently reading. He had his Bible, he had his laptop out, and he was working on an outline. I said, "What you working on, Mr. Leroy?" He said, "Oh, I'm working on a better way to, when you outline your sermons, I found a better way to do it." And I was just sitting there in awe because here this man is fighting for his life in a hospital bed, don't know what the future is going to bring, but he's sitting here still improving, still learning, still reaching. And I remember telling my best friend Cornelius about the same story I just told you about him being in there studying in the hospital bed. And my friend Cornelius said this phrase. He said, "Bring me my books. Bring me my books." Now, this is a phrase, when he said that, I understood exactly what he meant because this is an inside thing that me and him have. And it's a phrase that he came up with. Uh, and in this video, I'm going to share with you what that phrase means. That way you can have the inside scoop. Walk with me. And so, listen, it's not going to take me that long to break this bring me my books principle, this phrase. I'm going to share with you so you'll know why we said this about Mr. Leroy. And before I share, and so this actually came about, Cornelius came up with it when we were discussing the life of Apostle Paul. And I'm gonna share with you right quick of how that led up to that phrase, "Bring me my books." But before I do all of that, let me just go ahead and define the phrase, "Bring me my books," so you'll know exactly what I'm talking about. So let me put it up here. I'm gonna pull it up on the screen and take a screenshot of it. Okay. Bring me my books is when you maximize your life's potential by continuing to learn until you can't continue anymore. So listen, you need to maximize your potential and be a continual learner. See, a lot of people, you should never get to the point where you've arrived. Listen, John Wooden said, if I'm through learning, I'm through. One of my favorite quotes is, never be learned, always be learning. That's one of my favorite quotes. And as a matter of fact, I got that on a t-shirt. If you want to see what that looked like, link in the description of this video as well. But you're going to have continual learning. As long, and listen, not until you smart, not until you get a PhD, not until you get success. No, continue to learn until you can't continue anymore. I don't care how old you are. I don't care how far you've come. You need to always be saying, bring me my books. All right, now this is a three-part definition. Let me give you the second part. Bring me my books means to live full and die empty. What do I mean by that? Well, to live full means operating at your maximum capacity every day, actively pursuing your goals, expressing your creativity, cultivating deep relationships, and boldly sharing your gifts with the world. That's what it means to live full. What does it mean to die empty? It means reaching the end of your life with no regrets. It means leaving nothing on the table, ensuring that all your ideas, passions, and potential have been poured out and utilized. Oh man, that's good stuff right there. I got one last definition. One last definition. Take a screenshot. Bring me my books. That whole phrase is a philosophy about squeezing every ounce of potential, passion, and purpose out of your life. Listen, till you can't do it anymore. Bring me my books. You need to have that same concept. So if I say that to you, you know exactly what I'm talking about. Bring me my books. Living life to the full, leaving nothing on the table. And so years ago, back during the Apostle Paul days, right? Apostle Paul was arrested a few times, and uh, and this was the last time, I believe, if I'm not mistaken. If, for some theologians out there, you can correct me. But the last time he was arrested, uh, the Apostle Paul appealed to go and see Caesar, and he was in the hands of some, I can't remember the person's name. We'll come across his name in a minute, but he made an appeal to go see Caesar. And so there was this King Agrippa who came and was talking to these other leaders who had custody of Apostle Paul. And so they wanted him to talk with Apostle Paul. And so he talked with Apostle Paul and he said, "Hey, plead your case." And so Apostle Paul gave him his testimony. And that always amazed me when I read that, because it's like, okay, plead your case, defend yourself. Why shouldn't we persecute you or give you, a life sentence, right? And Apostle Paul responded by giving him his testimony. And he told him about his life and how before he used to be one of those Pharisees, and he used to come against Christians, and he talked about how he had a whole encounter with Jesus and how his life was converted. And he talked about all of that. And he said and he started telling him about his purpose, why he's here, his assignment. And, and so, excuse me, when King Agrippa, after he heard him, this is what he responded. He said, then King Agrippa said to Paul, in a short time and with so little effort, you almost persuade me to become a Christian. Now, there's two ways from studying this. I've seen two interpretations of this statement. One is the way I believe it was stated, which I'm gonna read it again. There's two ways to look at it. It says, then Agrippa said to Paul, in a short time and with so little effort, like, you almost persuade me to want to become a Christian. In other words, man, like after hearing all of that, you almost make me want to give my life to Christ, right? And so that's the first interpretation. That's the way I believe is written. There is another interpretation, which people say that no, he's saying he was being sarcastic, so to speak. Like, in other words, he was saying, in such short a time, you think that I'm about to become a Christian? Right? That's the other interpretation. Like, you think in this little conversation, this little short time we having a conversation, and with so little effort, you think that I'm about to become a Christian? I mean, really? Right? That's another interpretation. Now, which one is correct? Guess what? It doesn't matter, because the way Apostle Paul responded, he responded to both. And here's what Apostle Paul said. Paul said, whether it is a short or a long time, I pray to God that not only you, but every person listening to me today would be saved and be like me, except for these chains. Because he was in prison. He said, hey, I wanted to be just like me, except for not in bondage, not locked up. Oh man. And so the Apostle Paul, he never did get out. And let me share with this. Let me show you what Agrippa said after this. Because him and so after this conversation, King Agrippa went and talked to the other people that had him and arrested. And this is what King Agrippa said. He says, Festus, that's the man who had him locked up. And Agrippa said to Festus, this man could have been set free if he had not appealed to Caesar, which is Emperor Nero. So, in other words, because Paul made that appeal, that was the mistake. Because now he got to go see him. If he didn't have to go see the Caesar, if he hadn't made that appeal, after that conversation, they was like, man, we would let him go, because they were saying this is no reason for him to be persecuted. There's no reason he should spend time in prison for this. But because he made that appeal, he got to go to Rome. And that's where he was held in a Roman prison. He was in a Roman dungeon, which was brutal and cold. And if you read the story, that's eventually where he was executed. But during this time, right? During this time when he was in that prison, he could have been complaining. He could have been mad at God. But through research, let me show you what I discovered through research. I'll put it on the screen, my little notes. Through research, I discovered from this Roman dungeon, Paul penned his final deeply personal letters, primarily 2 Timothy. Paul wrote 2/3 of the Bible. Are you catching this? Listen, he's at the end of his life. He's in a prison. He's on. You're about to be executed, and he's saying, "Bring me my books. Bring me my. I gotta write something. I gotta write something to Timothy. I gotta pen something down. I gotta share. I gotta teach. I gotta." He wrote 2/3 of the Bible. Look at this right here. Look at this note right here. Despite his isolation and the realization that his execution was imminent, his writing expressed perseverance and triumph. He was isolated, realizing that he knows that, but all he could think about is, bring me my books. Bring me my books. It was during this time that he penned one of the most popular scriptures, and you've heard of it. I'm gonna put it up on the screen for you. Take a screenshot of it. You heard this before, though. This is what Paul says: I have fought the good fight. I have finished the race. I have kept the faith. Oh man, I hope you get listen. If I said anything you like, listen, hit that like button. I remember, listen, one of my favorite authors' name is John Maxwell. And John Maxwell Father. I like something he wrote about his father, and I want to read this to you. His father's passed now, but I want his father lived to for a long. He died and he was in his 90s. But I want to read something to you that John Maxwell said about his father. I'm gonna put it on the screen. John Maxwell says, a favorite memory of my dad was watching him take notes at a lecture he attended when he was 94 years old. He was still learning, still changing, and still growing until the day he died. Listen, his daddy was a reacher until the day he passed. He was reaching, still learning. And then listen, John Maxwell said, he said in the last, I'm put it back up here. The last thing he says, I intend to do the same. And I believe he is. Because guess what? John Maxwell, at the time of this video, is 79 years old. And he just uh, released a book that I read this from this year. So I believe that John Maxwell, regardless of how old he gets, he's going to say, bring me my books. He's living out his potential just like his daddy. And guess what? This has inspired me, and I'm going to do the same. Listen, I don't care if I live to be 120. Guess what? I know at 120, I hope I still have a quality of life, right? But I know at that age, I'm gonna need help with some things. I might need help going to the grocery store. I might need help cooking. I might have to ask for help to do certain things. But I know one thing for sure that I'm gonna ask help for. You know what I'm gonna say? Bring me my books. Bring me my books. What about you? Has this inspired you? Will you do the same? Will you live life to the fullest? If so, I want you to, as a matter of fact, if you agree with that and you're going to live your life to the fullest, I want you to comment in the comment section, bring me my books. Just write that in the comment section. If you're going to live full and die empty, if you're going to maximize life to the potential, if you're going to leave nothing on the table, comment, bring me my books. And listen, if that's you, if you commented, bring me my books in the comment section, I got a special word I want to give you. And this is the last scripture I'm gonna share with you. The last word. But I want this for you. If you commented, bring me my books in this comment section. I have something I want to read to you. I want to pour to you. I want you to receive. But before I share that with you, listen. If you like this video, listen. This type of teacher, make sure to subscribe to my channel. And listen, don't just hit the subscribe button, but go a step further and hit the notification bell because this will notify you when I put out more videos. Most definitely like this video, comment, but most importantly, make sure to share it. If it bless you, share this video so it can bless somebody else. Now listen, if you commented, bring me my books in this comment section. If you're adapting that concept, I want to read this last scripture to you. And it's actually the scripture I just read, 2 Timothy chapter 4, verse 7, except this is the easy English translation. I just like the way it's written. I'm going to put it up here and I want you to take a screenshot. He says, I have worked to serve Christ well. I have finished everything that God wanted me to do. I am like a runner who has run to the end of the race. I have continued to believe God's true message. Like Apostle Paul, like Mr. Leroy, like John Maxwell, Daddy. Bring me my books. Bring me my books. Listen, you need to be a continual learner. And I'm going to be continue to learn. And as a matter of fact, there was one year, I love reading books so much. As a matter of fact, this whole channel was created because of my love for books. I created this whole channel to share with you the many books that have impacted my life. And one particular year, I read 36 books in one year. 36 books in one year. I've never done it since then, but in one particular year, I read 36 books in one year. And I want to tell you what happened. and I put it in this video. I'm gonna put it right here. So just click right there, and I'll see you in that video. Listen, I love you. Stay up, stay blessed, and always remember that the word is your life.